Today we're going to talk about something called the architecture of understanding. Basically, what's really going on in your brain during that aha moment. And why do some people seem to have those moments, like, instantly?
You know that feeling, right? You're in a meeting, maybe a classroom, and someone's explaining something super complex. You're still stuck on a first sentence, just trying to get a grip. And you look over and someone else is already nodding along like, yep, got it. It's maddening.
Yeah, that's it. That sinking feeling. It makes you start questioning yourself, right? Like, am I just slower? Am I less capable? It feels like everyone else got a different instruction manual for life. But here's the thing. What if that entire feeling, that whole story you tell yourself, is built on a total misunderstanding of how our brains actually work?
Okay, so this is the idea that changes everything. Understanding isn't about how fast you think. It's not a race. It's about how well your brain can compress complexity. It's about taking this massive, messy mountain of information and squishing it down into one single, elegant idea.
All right, so first up, we need to tackle this illusion of speed. We're going to debunk the myth that being smart just means having a faster brain.
So the biggest misconception out there is that being smart is like a race where the person with the fastest computer processor wins. We all kind of think of our brains that way, don't we? But it's just not true. In fact, the harder you try to force your brain to process every single tiny detail, the more tangled up and confused you're going to get.
And this is the secret. Those instant learners, they're not thinking faster than you. They're just seeing the structure faster. While you might be stuck analyzing all the little pieces, they're stepping back and seeing how it all fits together. They're not processing, they're organizing.
So, if it's not speed, then what is it? How are they doing it? Well, it all comes down to the brain's secret shortcut, pattern recognition. It's probably the most powerful tool we have, and most of us don't even realize we're using it.
Okay, so look at these two paths to understanding. On the one hand, you have path one, which is what most of us do by default. We try to analyze every single detail, every moving part. And what happens? We get totally overwhelmed. Clarity just dissolves into chaos. But then there's path two. This is about finding patterns. You learn to ignore the unnecessary details and go straight for the underlying structure. And that's where clarity comes from. It's so much more efficient.
This quote really hits the nail on the head. High-level thinkers don't ask, what is this? They ask, what is this similar to? It's a huge mental shift. Instead of seeing a brand new, scary problem, they're digging through their mental library trying to find a match. They're asking, have I seen a problem shaped like this before? And that simple act of association, that's the shortcut. And what are those things in their mental library? They're called mental models. The best way to think about them is like pre-built blueprints for reality. When you see a building, you don't stare at every single brick and pipe, right? No, you instantly recognize the blueprint for a house or an office building. Mental models are the exact same thing but for ideas. Concepts like supply and demand or cause and effect, they're just blueprints that let you understand a situation almost instantly.
And all of this leads to a process called cognitive chunking. See, your brain just can't handle an endless fire hose of information. So what does it do? It starts grouping related ideas into a single, manageable chunk. So you go from having 10 confusing, separate ideas floating around to just one single, clear system. That's it. That's the aha moment right there, when the complexity just clicks into place.
Okay, but wait. If our brains are literally built to do this, why does it feel so hard for so many of us so much of the time? Well, it's because there's something getting in the way. And the real enemy, it turns out, isn't a lack of brain power. It's noise. And this is the question, isn't it? It feels so personal. We think it's a personal failing, that we're just not smart enough. But the answer has almost nothing to do with your raw intelligence. The real villain here is something we can call cognitive noise. Think of it like static on a radio that's just drowning out the music. The signal is there, but the static is too loud. The people who seem to get it fast don't have bigger brains. They just have a clearer channel. They are absolute masters at turning down that static.
So what does this cognitive noise actually look like? Well, it's that voice in your head telling you to overthink every little detail. It's your own emotions getting in the way, anxiety, frustration, that little bit of self-doubt. And a big one? That paralyzing fear of being wrong. All of that stuff is just static, and it completely blocks our brain's natural ability to see the simple patterns that are right there in front of us.
Okay, so the big question is, how do we turn down the volume on that static? Well, there's a really practical technique for this, a simple mental shift. We're going to call it switching to observer mode.
This comparison here shows it perfectly.
When you're inside the problem, it's just chaos. You're lost in all the little details, you're reacting emotionally, you are the thinking. But the goal is to get to the other side, outside the problem. From there, you can actually watch your own thoughts. You stop seeing the individual pieces and you start seeing the whole system. You're not in the thinking anymore, you are observing the thinking. It's a game changer.
And here's the really cool part. Your brain is already designed to help you do this. It has this thing called the default mode network. Think of it like your brain's background processing system. It's always on, even when you're resting or distracted, and its job is to connect ideas and build patterns. You know those aha moments you get in the shower? That's it. That's the default mode network doing its job. They're not random. They're the result of you finally getting out of the way and letting your brain work.
Okay, so this all brings us to the final and honestly the most important message of all. We have to completely change the way we think about understanding itself. Listen, if you struggle to get it, if you've spent your life feeling like you're just a little bit slow, you're not. It has nothing to do with your intelligence. It's just a sign that your brain is overloaded. It's clogged up with too much detail and too much noise.
And once you really get that, once you recognize it's about overload and not ability, it leads to the one shift that changes everything.
Understanding is a skill, not a talent. That's it. That's the whole thing. It is something you can practice and get better at. It's like a muscle you can build by learning how to filter out the noise and look for those patterns. You're not bad at understanding. You might just be using the wrong strategy.
And that's the thought we want to leave you with. Once you see the structure behind the chaos, you can never, ever unsee it. It's like learning to stop staring at every grain of sand and finally seeing the beautiful shape of the dune. Once your brain learns how to spot those hidden structures, well, that's a perspective you can never lose, and it changes absolutely everything.